all of you out there. Hello to all the subs, hello to my members, and if you're new to my channel, hello, I am Crazy Crime Chick. Here at my channel, we do discuss everything related to the Chris Watts case. That's anything old and anything new. But down the line, we will be discussing other cases soon. Before we get started with the video, I do want to take a couple of seconds just to say thank you to all of you who took the time to comment on the last video I did about this, Beyond Tragedy, a story of Shanann Watts by Vonda Knox. And when I did that video last week, at the very end, when I was going to hit public for the video, I started second guessing myself and really got nervous, because it's one thing when people bash me or make fun of me or troll me, because I can easily just delete it or defend myself or say a response, but 90% of the time I just delete the comment if it's really rude. But I got nervous because I didn't want this video to turn into a hate on Nate and his mom type of video and a lot of bashing being put out there. So that's why I started getting really nervous over it. But you guys, all your comments, 90% of them were amazing, supportive. You really enjoyed the video. You wanted to purchase the book yourself. A lot of you were telling me you were going to purchase the book. A lot were intrigued about the afterlife. And even the ones that didn't agree with it, for the most part, you guys also kept it respectful. So I, again, just want to say thank you guys, for being respectful in the comment section. Now, a little disclaimer before we get started. If my audio sounds a little funky, it's just because I'm not using my microphone. I'm not in my normal setup. I do have children running around the house. My animals, you might hear them barking. And so I did try to go in the opposite room where everybody was at. And unfortunately, I don't have my studio set up in that room. So again, if my audio sounds wonky or you hear some static, I do apologize for that in advance. Now, today's video, we're going to be looking at the next few chapters that are in the book. Again, I can't say word for word because due to copyright reasons, but again, if you guys want to purchase this book, I highly recommend. You will not be disappointed, most of you at least. You can get it on Kindle for $4.99. You can do the free 30-day trial period, which is obviously free. So again, I will have that linked in the description box when this video is over with. So again, we're going to be reviewing the next chapters for Vonda Knox's book, and that is Nate's mom. Again, Nate, we do know, is Shanann and Chris's, was Shanann and Chris's neighbor at the time of the murders, and his mother does live there still to this day. Nate and his family has moved out since then. Just to recap for you guys, so the information in the book, it's been transcribed or paraphrased from CBI Discovery documents, audio-video interviews released March 2019 from Frederick Police Department, CBI and the FBI, media interviews, Facebook posts, and eyewitness accounts regarding the investigation of Christopher Watts and the events leading up to the murders of Shanann, Vala, Cece, and Nico. Now, I do think it's important to say right now that Vonda does say in the book that she has often felt the presence of those who have passed on one level or another, and they are untold interpretation and perceptions of the afterlife. And then she says, is communicating between realms possible? Is this only in my mind? Who is to say? And then she goes on to say that she is sharing her experience and the story that has come to her, and that us as the reader, we have the right and responsibility of formulating our own opinion on it. Now, chapter 3 goes over everything we already know, and how on August 14th, Chris did those news media interviews, and how Chris originally wasn't the one who wanted to do them. And even Sandi advised Chris not to do it, but it was actually Nicole Atkinson who was the one who set it all up and told Chris if he can do it, because she believed that by doing those interviews, it would help get the word out about Shanann and the girls being missing at the time. Now, it's noted a couple of times in the book how during the times that Shanann and the girls were missing, how Sandi and Frank were in frequent contact with Nate and with Nicole Atkinson. And it says that while Sandi and Frank, they did try to stay as positive as they can, but the logic intervened. And it's because they knew, not just the family, but even her friends knew that Shanann would never ever leave the house without her phone and without her purse and wallet, and especially without Cece's medicine. So then it says right here that again, Sandi called Nate. And then it goes into a conversation that Sandi and Nate had, and I'm going to read that to you guys right now. So this is the conversation between Nate and Sandi. So it says, "Hi Nate, anything new? Have you heard anything?" "Hi Sandi, Chris did an interview for one of the stations and it should be on the news later this evening." "What is he thinking? He was the last one to see her. What if this compromises the investigation?" "I'm not sure. Hey, I've got to go. Someone's at the front door. I will call if anything comes up." "Okay, thank you." Now, it goes on to say how Shanann's family waited for that news interview to break that night. Just imagine waiting for that to come on. And how once it did, the headline was, "Pregnant Shanann Watts and her 2 young daughters are still missing tonight in Frederick, Colorado, as Chris Watts pleads for the return of his family." It says that Shanann's family, they watched Chris and they noticed that, the way he spoke about Shanann and the girls, there was no emotion, they noticed, and without even any sadness in his eyes, and that he seemed a little anxious, and that once it went to commercial, Frank turned the TV off, and Sandi looked at him and said, "Oh my God, Frank, Chris did something to them." Frank was extremely upset after seeing Chris's behavior about Shanann and the girls on the news, and he said, "This is not my son-in-law. Who is this person and what has he done with my family?" Sandi told Frank, "He doesn't even seem concerned. Do you think—" "Oh my God." Sandi began to cry and curse at the same time. Frank immediately called the police and asked to speak with the detective who was overseeing the investigation. And that's when Frank told him, "If you want to find my daughter, access the GPS on Chris's truck." My heart goes out to the Rzucek family. I can't even imagine what that must have felt like that night when they watched Chris on the news. I mean, this is a man they trusted with their daughter and their grandbabies, and here they're watching him act a certain way that they've never seen him act like. And I can't even imagine how terrifying that must have felt, that here is a man we trusted, but now he might have actually been the one who hurt them. So chapter 4, it correlates with chapter 1. And remember in chapter 1 when it ended, Shanann went back inside the house and she was looking for Bella again inside the house. And chapter 4 begins talking about how when Shanann went back inside, how it was so dark and empty that, she was sitting on the floor all by herself and she was so confused and she just kept trying to remember what happened. Where's everybody at? Why is this happening to me? And the more she tried to figure out what got her to that point, the more her memory became more foggier. And it said that now while Shanann's sitting on the floor, she looks around and realizes there's nothing in that living room with her. There's no sofa, there's no rug, there's no photos on the wall. It's just her all by herself sitting there trying to figure out what happened. And it talks about how that house used to be filled with children's laughter, and now it's just completely dark. Shanann smells that sage again and she hears a drum. So she goes outside and that's where she sees Speak with Stars. And she's telling him, "What's happening to me? Where's my daughter at? Why am I alone? I can't remember things." And then he tells her that Shanann is never alone and that perhaps Bella, she has something of importance that she must do first before she comes back to Shanann. And then Shanann said, "What could be more important than being with me, her mother?" And then he said, "Only she can answer that." Now Shanann starts feeling that she might disappear, and that he tells her, you will never disappear, but souls can become lost in their own darkness. Shanann goes back into the house, and it goes into the memory of when Bella was really scared when it was raining really hard. I don't know if some of you have seen that video, but I'm going to go ahead and play it right now for you.
Isn't that pretty cool, Bella? That's the first hailstorm you witnessed, right?
Mommy, can I go play out there?
No, you can't. It's thunder and lightning, sweetheart.
When I step in big ice.
Did you see that lightning?
Yeah.
That's why you can't play out there. When we go to North Carolina, you'll get a lot of thunderstorms, but you won't get as much hail like we get here.
No, I'm going to get a loud noise at Carolina.
North Carolina?
Yeah?
Kinda. Thunderstorms are usually kind of loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Can we go back to bed now?
No.
That we saw the show?
no,
No.
because it's not stopping yet.
It is. It's just raining now. The hail stopped. The hail stopped. Don't mind me. It's late. She was going to be a storm chaser. I pray not.
I don't want to go back to bed.
It's time for bed now. We got to hurry up and go to sleep, because the more sleep we get, the faster we get to North Carolina. Can you say North Carolina?
North Carolina.
Good job. Say hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Say good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.
Like I said in chapter 1, throughout this book, Shanann is left with a lot of sadness and a lot of confusion. It's a lot of fog going on around her, and when she does try her hardest to remember certain things, it comes into a memory, but it's quickly taken away. Like right here, it says that memories came rushing in, and it was a receipt for 2. And then it says denial, another woman. And then bits and pieces like broken glass cut into her love for Chris, cut into their marriage, cut into their commitment. Now, Shanann found herself in Bella's room, and it goes into details of what Bella's room looked like and a little bit about Bella. And it says that Shanann was sitting on the bed, and she was so worried about Bella because she was all by herself. And Shanann went in Bella's closet and grabbed one of her dresses and smelled it, hoping for a hint of her. Then as she was sitting there missing Bella, tears were just like coming down her face, and then she had another memory. Chris had betrayed her. And then it says she confronted him about having an affair. They were fighting, she was crying, she couldn't breathe, and then she was here, all alone. She missed her children and her husband, she missed her life, she wanted to talk to her mom, her dad, and her brother. This was all confusing for her. The last thing she could remember was not being able to breathe, and now she's just here, all alone, stuck. Now, Shanann just wanted to find Bella so they can escape this confusion and sorrow that she was feeling. And she just wanted to get out of there. And she wanted to go to the light with Bella, but she couldn't leave without her. She ended up laying on the bed, and she fell into a deep sleep. It does say that when some souls experience unexpected trauma, they need to process their experience before they can let go and move on. Then it goes into the canine search, which all of us have watched. I'm sure most of us at least have watched that over and over and over again. And it just goes on to what we've seen about, you know, when they walk into Shanann's office and they go inside the closet and you hear the giggle, how that happened. And then it just goes on to everything that we've seen. So I'm not going to really go into all of that. It does talk about how, you know, the dog was barking a lot by Bella's bed, and that the officer pulled from underneath her bed. There was she said a rock. We don't know if it was a rock. Some believe it was a crystal. We really don't know because we never were able to see it. She didn't pull that out, but she did pull out also a book, which was by Mercer Mayer, and it was titled All by Myself. And if you're familiar with Shanann's Facebook, you know that Bella loved books and loved to read. And it seemed that when Bella got scared, she would hide under things from a couple of videos Shanann had posted. So I just think it's interesting that a book was found underneath Bella's bed, and it only leads me to speculate that I wonder if she was possibly scared that night and went under the bed with her favorite book. So when you watch that canine search, you do know that when they go into Cece's room, it's opposite how the dog reacted when it came towards Cece's bed. And even Jane made a comment saying, yeah, that the dog didn't react like he did in Bella's room. Now, chapter 6 goes with chapter 4. And if you remember, Shanann was in Bella's room. She had fallen into deep sleep while she went into the kitchen after that, and she was trying to organize and make labels for things, and she couldn't seem to complete a task, so she got really frustrated over it. And it says that she started shouting from the top of her lungs, saying things like, "How could you, Chris? How could you cheat on me?" And just saying that she tried so hard to be perfect and have everything be perfect, and she thought she was having the perfect life, it says, but it was just all falling apart. And how could this have happened? Shanann is sitting there, and all of a sudden everything is back. All her furniture, her pictures, her sofa, rug, everything was there again. And she looked around thinking, why are all these things so important to me? Why were they important to me? None of this matters. All that matters are my children. And it says she wanted to figure out, was it going to work with Chris? If not, she'd be okay with it. But she knew she no longer can stay there any longer, because she just wanted to get out of that sadness, and she just wanted to find Bella. And she felt all of a sudden really strong, and she went outside and sang Speak with Stars. Shanann goes on to tell Speak with Stars that she needs to know what happened to her, and she's ready to face it, because she knew she had to do that in order for her and Bella to move on, in order for her to find Bella. She goes on to say that her husband was having an affair, and it does say that, Shanann was sad, but she had determination now. And she thought, she started saying things that we've heard Shanann say herself on her own social media, things like, Chris was her love story and how they met. And then it goes on to say that Shanann was an Italian woman, and they are demanding and aggressive at times, but they always try to make the best out of life, and they're amazing cooks. And we do know now that Sandi, Shanann's mom, has a cooking channel, and if you guys have not watched it, I highly recommend. I'll link that channel in the description box also, but they are amazing cooks. It does say that Chris is the type that needs direction, and we do know that. And that how sometimes it was tiring for Shanann to always have to be the one making all the decisions, and him just going along with it with no say so. He never tried to input anything himself. Chris reminds me of a person where you say, what do you want to do today? And they're like, whatever you want to do. What do you want to eat today? Whatever you want to eat. Like, they never have any input. And after a while, that gets kind of frustrating. This next part I think is really interesting, what it says about Chris, and I 100% agree with it. It says, there is no way to shake his systematic way of doing things, to penetrate it or get something deeper. He responds in the right way always. It's almost like he's reading a script. How do you complain about a person who's doing everything you ask? He has no real emotion. He never loses his temper. And it says they never argued about anything important. There is no place to push in or break open. And then it says, do you know how frustrating that can be? It does say, was he wearing a mask? And my personal opinion is that I think he wore a mask his whole life, but I'm not going to get into that right now. And it does say that, Shanann was trying to think, was he pretending this whole time? When someone is false, it says when they act a certain way, but it isn't really how they feel. They are pretending. And how, was he trying to trick her in some way, or maybe even just trick himself into believing that's how he really felt? Now, this next part, it goes into things that we already know, either from Shanann's post or from Shanann saying this herself in text messages to her friends, or from Cindy Watts herself in the many interviews she did. And it just talks about how Chris was always closer to his dad, and that his dad was his hero. It talks about how Chris and his dad never show any real emotions, or they never talked about their own feelings, and how Shanann can never reach Cindy's expectations. She always felt short to them, and that they would criticize everything about Shanann, but in more of a passive way. And that how Cindy, she hated that Chris bought her an expensive engagement ring, which Shanann never understood why that would matter to her. And it seemed that that ring caused a lot of resentment from the beginning, and that, all the falling out they had done, and how the family didn't go to Chris and Shanann's wedding, how that really affected Shanann, and also it upset Chris. Now, Shanann did make a comment. I'm not sure if it was in a text message or maybe that letter she wrote to him, but she does say that she has always been the one and the only one who protected Chris from his mother. I always wondered, why did she make that type of comment? But it does say in the book that there's a part of Chris that's just locked away, and it's just too risky for him to come out. Also in the book, it does say how, Chris doesn't always feel connected, and it's hard for him to express his emotions, and maybe that is why he tries so hard to be the best version of himself. Then it does say that when a person doesn't express their emotions, when they swallow them instead of letting them out, that can build emotional residue. Everyone does this to a certain degree, which is true. Pent up emotions come out in anger and in other ways. It is good to get them out. If someone builds up emotional residue for their entire lifetime, the release can be toxic and out of control. Now, Shanann tells Speak with Stars that when she gets back, she wants to be able to fix this relationship with Cindy once and for all. And he says, get back from where? And she says, from this dream I'm in right now. Maybe I'm in a coma. It's weird. And she stood up and she went back inside. So Shanann still doesn't realize what exactly has happened to her. But that's where that chapter ends. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video because it's going to be a long one if I go through all of them. I will do more of the chapters. Again, I'm not going over everything in the book and all chapters because, one, copyright reasons, and two, because we would be here for a really long time. But I highly recommend buying the book, reading it for yourself, because like I said, I'm not going over everything in the book and there's a lot that I'm leaving out. But again, just real quick, you can get the book again on Kindle, which is $4.99. You can buy it on Amazon for $12.99, or you can do the 30-day free trial. I think Kindle monthly I pay, and I could be wrong, I think I pay $11. I could be wrong. I'm not too sure what I pay on it. I feel like I have so many different apps I pay for. I don't even know. But again, that's going to wrap up this video. If you enjoyed it, please take the time to like it and comment down below. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. And maybe we'll do a live next time and I'll just go over everything with you then and wrap up this book. Let me know if you guys want me to do a live and go over the rest of the book. And with that being said, I'll talk to you guys all soon. Bye. Have a great day, you guys.